I think expectations are like the basis of disappointment. You know what I mean? And like, I came to this thing expecting something. I think that we should have realistic expectations, but let go of some other expectations too, and allow the moment to really just be the moment. And every company that we build, whatever company that you're building right now, in the first maybe 3 months, it's exactly what you thought. But then the users, the customers, they're going to tell you something else. It's going to be a totally different business. And just go with the flow. Because I've seen too many people build a business and they want it to be this way so bad that they're not listening to their customers and they're not pivoting. So the company goes under, but it didn't have to.
Who really wanted with me? I'm at the top, that's 1, not 2 or 3. This real life, baby, don't make believe. I just make it look easy like ABC. I'm on it 24/7, 25/8. I just pick up the pace and I violate. I eat it all up like a dinner plate. I've been on the move like I'm running late. Left, right, left, let's go.
Hey, what's up, good people? Welcome back to another City Entrepreneur episode. I am your host, Zeke Wanganga, and I'm also your favorite storyteller around the city. No one has been that with me. It's my show, so I can say whatever I want. And on this show, we dive into the journeys of successful entrepreneurs to uncover how they create a company and scale them so that hopefully you can be inspired to do the same. And there's no BS on this show. We bring real people with real stories so you can be inspired. So listen closely. Now, for this episode, I am super excited, as I am always excited. But I'm really, really excited because we have an AI company on today. If you've ever thought to yourself, I wish I could have my own superhero story, don't worry, we got you covered. We have an AI platform that does that for you. Now, before we get into this episode, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor at JQ Sirls. Hey, if you're a new entrepreneur who is trying to scale your business, create, find funding, whatever you need to help your business grow, you should go to jqsirls.org, get all the resources you need, get the info. Now we've paid some bills, let's get back to the show. Our guest today is a Willy Wonka when it comes to storytelling for kids. When I'm saying he is a coder, a web developer, he's also an animator, he's also a music producer. He is all the things. So please help me make welcome the co-founder of Storytailor, the one and only JQ Sirls. How you doing, JQ?
You're good.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, you've been pulling up all the good hats. Where you get your hats from?
I'm a hat collector, but this hat specifically is from Guru.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope. Like that's a whole essence. You know, you pull up. That's I think the Gen Z's call it steez.
Yeah.
Pull up with the steez.
Yeah. Like they say I'm really dedicated to the Wonka thing. So I think in some ways I've always find myself kind of like I don't do the top hat, but I'm gonna do the fedora.
No, I mess with it. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah. So I like the shoes too, man. You're styling. You are styling me today.
Appreciate it, man. That's also part of the journey.
Yeah. So just get people a little bit about yourself, who you are, for people who don't know you, because I know your resume is amazing. You do a lot of things. You are, the Willy Wonka we know today because you are literally a genius, just to say the least, So give us a little bit about you for those who don't know who you are and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. I'm JQ Sirls. Man, I would consider myself to just be a creative scientist. I am obsessed with the idea of making people kids again. I believe that if kids are going to stay kids, then we need to remind adults that they were kids. I feel like adults treat childhood like a curse you grow out of. And so I've just dedicated my life. It's one of the reasons why I actually like Willy Wonka, and I always say that. And it's like a moniker. It's not necessarily that like I guess some people say I'm obsessed with the character, but it's more of the journey that the character did in the story. If you pay attention to Willy Wonka, what he did was he found a way for kids and adults to want to be in the same room, and it did it through this imagination. But think about as an entrepreneur, didn't care about what people thought. He did what he thought was the best thing to do. So like when you think about it as an entrepreneur and the journey of an entrepreneur entrepreneur who wants to create joy, Willy Wonka is kind of the best person for that. Like Disney has issues, other people have issues, but Wonka represents it.
Yeah. So I know, for me, I had Blake on the show and he was talking about being able to have a childhood dream to be able to, create a part that goes into like a spaceship.
Yes.
And he was able to fulfill that. But I think as kids growing up, we get told so many times that we think things that we dream of is not realistic.
Yeah. My main feedback on that is, kids have a whimsical imagination. They're playful. They're silly. The farts in space and surfing on waffles and being crazy. But that's how kids understand the world. And I think what happens is that you have school, you have all these places that, mind you, they're good, but they start to cut off that whimsicality. You know what I mean? It's kind of like letting them believe in Santa Claus for a little bit because it's just how they're understanding the world. And the sooner that we start to cut that off from them, the more sooner that we're actually starting to cut off their ability or their desire to see themselves as these crazy things, right?
Yeah.
It's like a little kid that says, I want to be an astronaut who sells waffles on Mars. We laugh, but they need to think that. And then over time, it'll develop more. And then you find out they want to be an astronaut or you find out they want to be a chef. But just let them do it. And, and let them go there and totally, they want to be an astronaut. Okay, take them to NASA.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And we don't do that enough. We don't let them exist in that space because we confuse childlike with childishness. And so if you're being too childlike, you're childish, and childishness, no, that's not good. But childlikeness, well, that's every entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do more of.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and this is my own opinion of it, I think the most successful entrepreneurs or companies have been unrealistic ideas.
Yes.
And people was like, this is crazy. This is not going to ever work.
Yeah.
Because they were thinking different. They were thinking ahead of their time when people were saying something different.
Exactly. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Nothing is impossible. It's just how complex is the problem and how much time you want to spend on it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But everything is possible. Like, it's kind of like a kid saying they want to fly. We go, well, you can't fly. You know what I mean? Because right now, no. Can you fly the way you want to? No. But if a kid is dedicated enough, next thing you know, they're 40 years old and they invented a way to float.
Exactly.
Give it time. You'd be surprised. Like they said the same thing about the Wright brothers. And what did they do?
Man, I want to dig deeper on that time there, right? Because I think, especially in today's microwave society, where we don't understand that things take time. I have this story where it's like, so being in Nigeria, growing up in Abia State, my mom used to take me to the farm, right? We used to farm a lot. Nice. So whenever it was rainy season, we would go farming and, we didn't have any machines. We used a machine to cut the grass, And you go back you sow the seed, you go back every day, water it and making sure it's growing. But you never expect it's going to give you the fruit the next day. Yeah. It takes about 2 months. Yes. But you still go every single day. Yes. And that's how, ideas are supposed to go. But I think we forget that when it comes to creating things.
My thoughts on that. I think hustle culture is also killing it. Do you know what I mean? It's this need that you have to perform, that you have to make something that is content for social media, that you have to make something that is going to make $1 million, that you have to make something that's going to have a VC.
Yes.
And I think the problem is that creativity is in some ways suffering from the overneed of hustle culture and the overneed of marketing. And sometimes some artists just need to be bored. Some just need to play and need to understand that failure is a part of the process. So with you farming, the first thing that I hear is all of the failures that happen in the midst of farming to get there, but you kind of enjoy it. When you realize that failure and success are the same experience, you get what I mean? Then that's where the art is. That's where the creativity is. Because you're doing something you haven't done. Like when you're planting the seed, you guys have a way of doing it, but you don't know if the rain's going to come or the rain didn't come or the sun didn't come or the animals came. And there's all these weird challenges.
That's true.
But then all of a sudden the plants grow and they grow a little different this time. Because the weather conditions technically didn't go the way you thought.
That's true. That's true.
That's what we need to express a little bit more. Like, I'll give you an example. My son, he's 5 years old. I've never been father to a 5-year-old before. So I fail every day.
Because you're learning the process. Yes.
I've never been a father to, And so as entrepreneurs, as creators, we have to realize that everything we're doing is a process of failure. But enjoy it, because that's the joy. We've never done it before. I'm trying it for the first time. But the second that we needed to build something for a VC, or we need to build it for social media, or we need to get these many followers, that's when the creativity is lost, because you're not enjoying the failure process up. And now, mind you, it's a balance. You need to know what you're doing.
Exactly. There is a process to it.
Yeah.
I think since we're on an episode talking about Storytailor, I think it's deemed feat to tell stories, right?
Yes.
So I think when in my house, so we had 3 coconut trees.
Dope.
Right. So it's like each coconut tree took about 3 years to get to a point where it would actually get you fruit.
Okay.
So that's you probably usually longer than that. I was a kid, but it's like most times if you had taken that coconut tree, that would not be fruitful because it was 3 years and you cut it down. Yeah. You just started the growth of that, right? We had the tallest coconut tree, which was, I would say, one of the sweetest ones. Nice. And there was 2 short ones. Okay. So I went back to Nigeria last year in 2023, and the shortest one is taller than the tallest one. Processed. I never knew that would have grown that much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not the same sweetness of all of them, right? It's like, if you know that time, success, failure, all works in during time.
Yes.
You be able to commit to the process.
Yes. Yeah. So when it comes to that, I consider myself a designer CEO, say creative CEO, but designer CEO because that's just a heavy background of mine. Of course, engineering and all the things, but I approach everything from a very designer's eye. And from that, I would definitely consider myself the visionary type leader. But my goals, the way that I attack things is I know where I want to go. And then I find people who are genius in what they do. They love what they do. And then I trust them for the GPS. Right. And so what that means is it's kind of like if you were to hire Picasso, right, to make a painting for you. Yeah. Right. You know that the end result is a painting. Yes. That's the vision. Yes. Right. But let Picasso be Picasso. You know what I mean? Exactly. And so because you asked Picasso to do it for a reason, so let Picasso be Picasso and never ask Picasso to be Michelangelo. And so when I think about the process and that failure up, it's like, for example, anyone on my team would tell you, it's like, this is where I want to go. I trust that you can get us there. Tell me when you want to check in, the times that to check in, if you need my help and support. Yes. But I'm trusting you to be the genius I asked you to be.
The whole process. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you tell me the GPS. Yeah. I just know we need to get here. Yeah. And every single time I'm surprised. It's always like, oh, like it's I'm a fan because I asked you to do that. So even I have a person right now, I'm an illustrator, but I hired an illustrator to do my latest book that I'm going to do, my own personal book of mine. I did that just because this vision, I wanted someone else to attack, to see how they go with it. Again, I'm talking to Picasso, you know, and so he's checking in with me like this, and I'm like, no, I know what I want it to be. Yeah. I hired you because I think you're amazing. Exactly. Yeah. Just go. And then when he gives it to me, I'm gonna be like, that's it.
That's exactly what I want. You know, I think in that line too, I think I would definitely want to get your opinion on this. I feel like when it comes to the education system, yes, they design kids also including myself. Yes. To have this individualistic mindset that you have to figure it out by yourself. Yeah. Every test is by yourself. There's no teamwork. After study, you can't collaborate. Yeah. What do you think? You think that's the right way? Or like, what do you think that, takes from us as, kids growing up in that mindset? Like, because I think once you enter the society and realize that, I can't do it alone. It takes you time to switch from being an individualist to actually having a team that helps you know that you can do everything.
I think that recess is too short. Personally. Yeah. I think that if we could have schools where recess was all day, but it was curated recess, then you will have kids that are finding what they love to do. They're going to enjoy math, science. They're going to do a whole lot of stuff just because they want to play. They're going to find ways to do it with one another. I feel like we got so used to putting kids in chairs and facing the front, and it's almost very like pre-cubicle, pre-prison. But if we were to just imagine an entire kindergarten or first grade or elementary school where the kids are just playing and exploring, and you like Science City kind of does this, where you get to guide them while they're there and while they're exploring. Hey, you want to come here and do archaeology? Okay, but what are all the things we're going to learn in doing this thing? I think that'll just naturally be answered because the kids' personality, what they're good at, their strengths and weaknesses, will just come out and they'll just do it. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's knowing the destination.
Knowing the destination. That's what I was
letting them get there.
Knowing destination and letting them get there. Yeah. However way they want to get there. Yeah. Let their creatives mind lead them. Yeah. As opposed to you got to do A, B, C, D. Because that stunts growth and creativity.
Yeah. Because then now this next genius you cut off because they have to. And that's my childhood. I mean, I was terrible in school until college. But a lot of that was just because I did not do things the way that the teacher thought the process should have been. True. They wanted to correct my GPS, even though I got to the destination. And I made it as kind of, again, maybe it's my childhood trauma why I'm the way I am, but it's just definitely like, no, I don't want to correct someone's GPS. If they get to the destination, they got to the destination. Yeah. And they may not be able to explain how they got to it because sometimes some people are just intuitive like that.
That's true. No, I'm with you on that too. I feel like I'm in the same route where, all through high school, all through middle school, I was definitely not a school person. I was more about the experience, like connecting with people, knowing who people are, making friends. Because I knew that would, for me, that was more important than just going from A to B to Z. Because those people who I made friends with are still friends with me till today. Cool. And I've learned a lot from them, right? Cool. Even the grades that I got in high school, middle school, didn't help me anything. It didn't take me anywhere. All the experience that I learned from school was what I took on because especially with being an immigrant, you know, you have to learn how to connect with people as fast as possible when you are thrown into a new environment. And that was something that I learned growing up. Like, I can make a friend no matter where you put me in, just because I have that in mind. It's like, I just want a community, right? But let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go into the tech stuff.
Absolutely.
What is the problem that Storyteller AI is solving, and why should people care?
Yeah. The problem that AI, well, I can get to that too. We can talk about that too. But because I think that a lot of people are using AI at a non-human forward way, and we'll get to that in a second. Storytailor is, we say platform, I won't say platform, but Storytailor is a solution that allows for anyone, anywhere, in any language, with any background, to create a personalized story for their child in under a minute. If you look at the current publishing landscape right now, I mean, books are still being banned. Black and brown books even have a toggle if you even want them in libraries and schools. What Storyteller does is, we don't care about the bookstore. We don't care about the bookshelf. We care about your kid. What does your kid want right now? And so that means that your kid could be going to the dentist and they're scared. We can make a story about them floating on waffles, pooping on potatoes, but then also learning how to be okay and be brave from a tooth. And because kids are whimsical that way. It can be a child that's in a hospital. Maybe they're dealing with cancer, they're dealing with something. We can make a story about them in that moment to help calm that fear, right? A bedtime story, those are common that you can kind of see. But when Storytailor, every story mimics the child. It's not just ChatGPT with a fancy UI. It is 100% how you wanted your kid to look. The story comes out looking like your kid, sounding like your kid, and being in a moment where it is your kid. But the beauty of Storytailor is not just in that space. It's you as an adult validating your child's imagination. The stuff that we were talking about in the beginning.
Exactly.
It's my son, he made a story about, you ready for this? He made a story about a monster truck shaped like a booger that farts on its way to McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is creative.
It's hilarious. But in that story, because I know he deals with confidence, I made it about lack of confidence, right? So now it's the story that he wants, but I got to put in what I needed him to learn, which was confidence. Again, destination and allowing him to get there on his way, right? And that's Storytailor. So it's allowing for you as a parent, as a teacher, as a child life specialist, as a child psychologist, it's a way for them to say how they're feeling, and you to kind of nudge in what you're trying to either teach, explain, or discover. And then you guys can now come together and bond. They feel validated for spending time and being able to express their imagination. And then you feel validated in the space that, like, the kid enjoys spending time with you. On top of that, you are teaching them math. You want to teach them science. Maybe they're having a hard time at school with math problem.
Exactly.
You can intertwine that in a story literally about chickens in space pooping on potatoes, and it'll still teach math or the vocabulary words. But this allows the core problem is really so that kids can see themselves and feel validated in their imaginations in this moment. Not waiting 6 months from now, not waiting for, in my case, I'm so used to, and actually we're both Black, but it's like, how many stories did we see when we were kids about Peter Pan that happened to be Black? Like imaginative, whimsical silliness. We didn't see that. We just see the 700 story of
Tarzan was not even from Africa.
But I mean, we'll see. In my case, I'll read the 900 story of Martin Luther King, the 700 story of Malcolm X. And mind you, I know, but we know, like another slavery story. We know.
We've heard it all over again. Give us something creative.
You give us
something like a hero.
Because, and the thing is I feel like no two children are the same.
That's true.
And every child deserves to see their imagination realized. Right. And that's Storytailor in a nutshell.
Wow. No, that's fantastic. I think for me too, as a kid, I think the first book I read, and I can't remember the name of and the audience probably knows this, but it's like the dog's like a white and black dog. It has like a black patch on the dog. It's like, it's not Scooby. It's not Scooby. But that was my first book that I ever read because I love pictures with words next to it. Right?
Yes.
That was the first book I ever read. And after I read that, I started looking for books that are more like that.
Yes.
Because I want to see where the story is going. As opposed to just a long scripted nothingness, right?
You know, the magic about picture books is that adults think that they grew out of picture books, but yet they read magazines. You know what I mean? No, you didn't.
Wow.
However, picture books have a really beautiful way of communicating a human experience in the simplest way possible. And so that's like when I make picture books, a lot of times I'm making them mostly for adults and I'm making them with the intention that for adults to bond with the child, but they have very I'll say adult themes. For example, my first book, it was called No Monster No. And it was about a little girl who took the monster under her bed to school to teach him manners. And you go, oh, it's about bullying. And I'm like, actually, it's about you facing your fears finally. And that's a problem that a lot of adults have.
That's true.
Is that how many times are they just like, I'm just going to stay on the bed. I don't want to deal with the problem. It'll go away, but it's not going to go away. And the problem may not ever go away until you face the problem and maybe even teach the problem or learn from the problem. You know, but for kids, it's bullying. But for adults, it is facing that thing that you're afraid to face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But children's books, if you ever go to, I challenge everyone, go to like a Barnes and Noble, just yourself, go into the picture book section and read it. And then like, don't think for a minute this is for a kid. Think about it for you. And you'd be like, yo, this is deep. They are deep.
Yeah. No, I think too, with the problem thing you just mentioned, I think as adults, even though we don't, I mean, subconscious mind is already programmed.
It's programmed.
Right? The same way you deal with issues when you were a kid is probably the same way you deal with issues as an adult.
Yes.
You just don't know it.
Yes.
Right.
Or the traumas you dealt with as a kid, or
Yes.
how you were going to address it.
It's how you see life. It's your
Yes.
perspective on life.
Yes.
I think when it comes to, especially entrepreneurship,
Yes.
it's a fear thing too. Because like,
Absolutely.
for you to step out and go jump on like something that you probably not going to work out because
Yes.
you have no idea how it's going to work.
Absolutely.
You just have this vision. But because you know that it's a fear thing, and once you get over that first fear or hump of fear,
Yeah.
it's just on to the next thing because
Yeah.
you already know it's just in my mind.
Yeah, that actually is my story, man. Would be Storytailor years ago, I want to say around 2011, 2012, I moved to Los Angeles, and by the end of the year, I was homeless on a bench.
Wow.
Right? I was pursuing what would be Storytailor. I went to go work with someone that, you know, if you ever go to LA, people promise a lot of things. I'm coming from the Midwest to LA, so people are promising things. I'm like, oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Long story short, it didn't work out as I expected. I was at a startup that got let go. The startup went under, and I totally thought that a project that I was working on would not only be invested in, but a co-ownership with an investor. So the person who was the investor was actually supposed to be the co-owner, and then backed out at the very last minute.
Yeah.
And I ended up homeless for a little bit.
Wow.
I will tell you the journey I learned from that. It was from 2012 to February of 2014. That's how long I was in that crucible. I was homeless for a short bit of time, but I was couch hopping and just going through the depression and all the stages of grief just for a very long time. What got me out of it was in 2014. In 2014, I ended up back in LA. So I ended up in Delaware for a minute, which is crazy. I ended up back in Kansas City for a hot minute. And then I ended up getting to go back to LA from a project. But I was in a friend's home and I had a metro ticket. That metro ticket in LA, if you've ever been to LA, it's a $5 ticket. If you put $5 in, you can get a day pass.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? Now, mind you, that was the last $5 I had. All right? I didn't have any more money. I was actually going to go meet someone. Right. So I put my last $5. I'm broke as tar. Like I'm like ramen noodles, cutting them in half for like a day. You know, that was me. And I was staying at a friend's house there. So I wasn't homeless there. I was staying in a friend's couch. And so that $5 I put in, I got a ticket. I went to the Grove. I stayed in Culver City. Those who know LA know what I'm saying. Not Culver City. Yeah, I stayed in Culver City. Yeah, that's right. And so I'm like, where was that? Okay, I stayed in Culver City. And what ended up happening was it ended up not being a day pass. The guy pushed the wrong one, and it was only for that one pass.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I ended up meeting, it's hot, it's summer. Like, I mean,
California summer. That's different.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say summer because that was March. It was like March. So not summer, but LA was still hot.
Yeah.
And so I have to walk back from the Grove to Culver City. And where I was at specifically in Culver City was very far. So it was at least about 10 miles I had to walk. It was a little over 10 miles.
Yeah.
So I'm crying. I'm upset. I don't know what's going on. I'm afraid everything is about to fall apart again. I am broken. Okay. And mind you, I've been broken earlier when I ended up homeless. But this time I was like, okay, how long is this going to happen? And I got the biggest lesson. I was afraid that I was going to be embarrassed and everybody was going to look at me like, oh, see, I knew he didn't have it. I knew he didn't have the talent. My biggest fear was failing. My biggest fear was failing hard. And guess what? I did. I thought that if I jumped off this cliff and took this risk by going to LA and by doing this big thing, that God was going to give me wings and I was going to fly and I was going to be this successful person. I thought it. I believed it. God didn't give me those wings. Matter of fact, he said, nope. And I fell and hit the corner and hit the bricks and hit the rocks and hit the ground. But the thing that I learned was that I can survive the fall. If you're afraid of the worst thing that can happen to you, I think that's the biggest thing that's going to limit us. for me, I had to learn the hard way, but I am very fearless now. I do not fear anything, and I don't fear failure. Why? Because the worst thing I ever thought could happen to me, it did in the space of entrepreneurship. Now, mind you, there's other bad things, but in the space of entrepreneurship, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, even before I left to LA, I walked away from a fiance. I walked away from a really good life. I walked away from a job, and I ended up homeless. Like, there was a lot of things. But that journey, having walked away, having learned that, when I got to that point of I can survive the fall, you know what, God, that's what God's telling me.
Yeah.
I then went to get my MBA. I then learned development. I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to code. I'm just gonna learn how to just do this myself.
Yeah. And
it got me to today. And now, I would say the biggest thing that I've contribute to people, even outside of Storytailor, is this concept, and I hope I give this to everyone, is that, like, be yourself. Failure is a part of the process, and enjoy that child part. Don't quiet that child inside, because that child inside is really telling you what you really want.
Yeah. No, I think that's so powerful. I think on that same line, I read a book, I think it was 2018, and the book's title was Shatter the Chatterbox. And essentially what it's saying is, whatever your mind is saying that's going to happen, just assume it happens. What is that worst thing? Just say, it's happening. What next?
Yes. That's it's funny. When people tell me I'm afraid of failure, I go, you're going to fail. And they look at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, it's true. You're going to fail.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Matter of fact, you're going to fail a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, I want to avoid it. You can't avoid it.
Avoiding it is making them worse.
Yeah. I was like, dude, fail quickly. Yeah. Like, I'll just say fail fast. Like, like, screw up as quickly as possible. And enjoy doing it. And I think that's what we get so afraid of failure, but it's really fun.
It's part of the story.
If you allow it to be a part of the process. When I dealt with my failure, that sucked, but I had expectations that were different. I now find a way that I would say booby trap myself away from that kind of failure, is that I don't really have expectations anymore. I think expectations are like the basis of disappointment. You know what I mean? And I came to this thing expecting something. I think that we should have realistic expectations, but let go of some other expectations too, and allow the moment to really just be the moment. And then it's kind of like, as what we say as entrepreneurs, we pivot, right? Like sometimes you have to pivot, and I think that's really our job. Is we're professional pivoters.
Yes.
And so it's just like going into that space and then pivoting as much as possible. So like, I'll come into space, like even this interview, there might have been things that I thought, but it wasn't. All right, because I didn't come in with an expectation, all right, I go here.
Exactly. You can adjust on the fly, just like that.
Yeah. And you start to find yourself enjoying the process because it's like, oh, it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah. But I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
I think too, in that same line, it's like with the journeys, the failures, those make the stories that you can tell and learn from.
It's the GPS. Just know where you're going, man.
Exactly. It's like, I think one thing too is, if you expect the business, the thing you're starting, for people to come and support you immediately, you're really just going to start failing at the first start of it.
Yes.
Because that will never happen. Even if it happens, it's going to probably not trickle down to what you think it's going to do.
No. Everything that you build, if you can let go of the expectation, have realistic expectations and goals. I say like KPIs, we say those are good. Like my goals in the next 6 months, those are good because those are destinations, right? But our immediacies, no, those are going to be different. And every company that we build, whatever company that you're building right now, in the first maybe 3 months, it's exactly what you thought. But then the users, the customers, they're going to tell you something else.
Different. Yeah, that's true.
It's going to be a totally different business. Yeah. And just go with the flow.
Yeah, transition, pivot.
Because I've seen too many people build a business and they want it to be this way so bad that they're not listening to their customers and they're not pivoting. So the company goes under, but it didn't have to. They just expected it to be this way.
The same way,
yeah.
And as we're probably coming towards the end, I want to get to some business stuff, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about your customer target when it comes to Storytailor.
Yeah.
Like who is that, and how do you validate your customers?
Yeah. So I've been in the publishing industry, honestly, since I was 7 years old. My sister, her father, I have half sister. So her father, he's an award-winning children's book author and illustrator. Wow. And he just somebody who I've always watched and in some ways put me under his wing. And then I ended up being a Shane Evans, who's in Kansas City. If you guys know, I was under his wing for a while. So it's just, I've been in it for a while. So I would say that it's been validated over time because I've just been in the industry. I got my bachelor's in writing for children. My MBA is in innovation on ed tech. Yeah. So it's been a consistent thing. But for Storytailor, the target audience is parents I would say parents, child life specialists, or even just child care, people who just enjoy, take care of children between the ages of 3 and 8. So if you have a passion for a child, a group of children in the ages of 3 to 8, it's for you. We are B2C and B2B2C.
So that's how you make money then?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're B2C in the space that we have subscriptions, and we're B2B2C because we have subscriptions for places like children's hospitals, advocacy groups. We are talking to schools, but we're not really focused too much on schools. We actually are focused more on boredom zones, we call them. And so these are places where kids are traditionally bored and they're actually just kind of sitting around. And so we actually prefer to be there than school. Or at the hospital where they need us the most.
Where they need the most, yeah. Okay.
And then our goal is that by those people paying a subscription, they also are making accounts and stories for kids who go home and create a personal subscription.
So thinking of scaling, what is the scaling plan? Or, from my perspective, have you, thought about, is it like, API in the platform, or is it, what is that? What does that look like for you guys scaling this?
Yeah. So Storytailor is a brand underneath the company Page Master, which is the main brand. And we're creating products and services that orbit the child. Storytailor is being the first planet. The plan for Storytailor is to become a brain.
Okay.
So we are actually in the process of working on, I won't say an LLM, but more training on the model so that we can API it out. We've had a bunch of companies, game developers. We've even had movie producers approach us because they love how we can create a character that's so personalized to a child. Like not too many people really compare to what we do. And so they want to make game engines where they use API to Storytailor to customize characters or to customize storylines. So we're going to go to that point. But then some of the other products that we're going to be releasing in the next couple of years are going to use Storytailor as its brain. Okay. And so we're really excited about that.
So right now, where is Storytailor at, and what's the next move? What are some accomplishments you guys have had in the past? Because I know you guys have, won some grant funding. What's the next move you guys are trying to get to, and what will help you guys get to that?
Well, it actually goes back to a question you asked that I didn't answer, but it's also part of this one, is how do we validate it? So with Storytailor, the way that we validate Storytailor, there's nothing in Storytailor that we do that is not the result of a child who needs it. You get what I mean? Like we have a lot of features that we want to release, and we have a lot of things we want to do. But we wait until we really truly find that there's a group of kids who otherwise wouldn't have seen themselves if they didn't have this feature. So for example, the reason why we're including VR or elements of VR in a Storytailor fairly soon is because of kids in hospital rooms. You get what I mean? Who are sitting there, burn victims or cancer, and they're just in the hospital room. Can we put a headset on them so they can be in the story, so they can be in the experience, because the anxiety or the area is just too much. They need it, right? Okay. We added audio for kids who are blind, so I would say that, like, for us, the next step is exploring that more now that we're in children's hospitals. Because children's hospitals are going to have a bunch of kids with different diverse needs. And we're just going to keep exploring that while we're at the same time working on the API and then perfecting the model, so that we can API it soon. But right now, that's just the goal.
Sweet.
And it's helping us scale, because the thing about accessibility and inclusivity is when you let it be the focus of your business, it actually works out for everybody. And that's us. And that's us. We're diversity first. It's in our business model. We're not one of those companies that, like, we have a diversity goal. It's our business. It's who we are by default. Like, we're multi-language. We're diverse as a default.
So, put us in some game, right? Because I know with building a company, you've probably gone through a lot of resources. What are some things you've used in the city that has helped you, that you want to put out in some, like, where can we go and find things you've used, to kind of help your company grow?
I would definitely say Keystone is a really big thing. I would definitely say you guys check out Digital Sandbox, man. They really are. Congratulations.
Thank you.
He got this. I did in 2022.
Thank you.
Digital Sandbox is really there for y'all. I mean, if you let it and be prepared, that is a launch pad, I would definitely say after that, go out and enjoy yourself. Like, remember that you are not a title. You're a human being.
True.
And I think with entrepreneurs, we forget. I'm looking in the camera.
Yes.
As entrepreneurs, you are an entrepreneur, but you are not defined as an entrepreneur. You just are. You are a human being first, and take care of the human being. Make sure that the 6-year-old you and the 85-year-old you are both proud of you. right? Yes, you want to take care of your kids, and you say you do it for your kids. You want to do it for your spouse. You want to do it for your city. But what about you? What do you need to do for you? Take the title off. Take the thing off. Be a human being. Satisfy that human being as much as possible. Make that human being smile, and you're going to be successful every day.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. On that note, let me drink some Kintel, sir, because that's a good point to drink on that. I'm a drink on that. Yes, please.
Ooh, got the little.
Yes, it's actually a secret he told me on the show. It's supposed to be like the champagne for seltzer. So when you pop it, it's supposed to pop up. You pop with your folks.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
This one is better, so that's why I kept it for myself. But I'm gonna give you some on the way out. But
I like lemon.
Oh, you like lemon?
I'm a lemon guy.
Yeah. I ain't gonna say what this is a got strawberry in it. It got a bunch of hard seltzer. So check it out, strawberry lemonade.
Oh, actually, this one's pineapple peach lemon lime. Yeah, I was good with this one. I'm good with this one.
No, those are awesome. Every time I go to an event, I always break from Kintel.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, JQ, for kind of sharing your story. I think being able to sit with you and kind of see what Storytailor, is doing, it really makes me excited for the future.
Yes.
Just because, as a kid, I was kind of a little bit a different kid. It's like like I said, I'm more picture. Like I like pictures,
Yes.
I'm more on the creative side.
Yes.
But I think growing up in my culture, the creative side was not, it's not appreciated.
Yes.
It's more of you have to be on the science side. You have to be on the tech side. But it's like the creatives are the people who paint the word for us to see it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have those people, we are living in black and white.
Yeah. I want to say this too. And I mentioned it earlier. Hence why I say Wonka, right? Is I intentionally make things because I'm from an inspiration of Willy Wonka. I make things for adults and children to want to be in together. They both want to be there. So I want to make this very clear for everyone that looks at Storytailor. Yes, do we make stories for kids? Yes, but we make stories for kids. Even the kid inside of you. We have a lot of adults who have accounts at Storytailor for themselves.
Yeah.
And they're just having a blast because that child in them, you didn't get to see stories about you when you were a kid.
No.
All right. So just because it may say it's for kids, the kid in you might still need a story on Storytailor.
That it does.
And I have a lot of adults who are going in making stories of themselves when they were kids and what they wanted when they were kids. And I'm seeing healing even in that to just be able to have those moments.
Yeah.
And so, or you're working on a children's book and you just want to see if your idea is okay. Check out Storytailor. Like, go test that idea. I don't say publish that because, and I'm not saying that you can't, all stories are yours, but you want a human at the helm when you're doing something publishing.
Exactly.
But if you want to test an idea, go to Storytailor. So yeah, it's for kids at the cover, but it's for the kid inside. Remember, childlike and childish are two different things.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I feel like we are all big babies.
Yes.
Me personally, I am a big baby just because I remember when I was a kid, I told myself that regardless of how old I get, there are two things I will never stop doing: watching cartoons and playing video games.
Period.
Until today, you can't beat me on FIFA. Pull up. But that's my mindset. It's like I love creativity.
Yes.
I love to have a good time.
Yes.
It's don't be too serious.
Yes.
Because you lose yourself in that.
Yes. I watch cartoons. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're going to this cartoon movie, so you're going for your son?" No, my son's at home.
I'm gonna go watch it myself. I've watched Toy Stories. There's a new Duck movie that came out. I forgot what it is. Secret Life of Pets. I watched all of them.
New Toy Story coming.
So I'm gonna be looking out for that. And I think too, when it comes to the Marvel world, my best one, Black Panther, obviously, Iron Man. Those are movies that I watch that really inspired me.
Yes.
Like you can actually think
But that's the fantasy. That's the nonsensical. Because they don't make sense.
Yeah.
But it's through that nonsense that we got to explore that X-Men was exploring race and being different. But it doesn't make sense, but it helped us explore.
Yeah.
And we got to remember that kids are doing the same thing.
Sure.
And let them.
Yeah. No, I'm with that.
Yeah.
Thank you again, JQ, for coming on the show. And, as you build your Storytailor, I hope, in the future that we can be able to have a synergy of, colliding ideas. But I think, again, what you're doing is fantastic.
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate technology, and I'm glad that we are here in KC talking about it.
Yes, sir.
And again, for those people who are watching from home, you know what time it is. We're about to end episode. But don't forget, share, like, comment, let people know we're here in KC. And we're going to go nowhere. We're going to be back again with another episode. And I'm going to see you in the next one. It's your boy Zeke, and I'm signing off for now. Bye-bye.
Pick up the pace. Go, go. Pick up the pace.